Welcome to this life-changing video. Today we are going to talk about something that almost everyone wants: how to remember everything. Think about it for a moment. Have you ever studied for an exam, and the next day your mind is completely blank? Have you ever tried to remember a person's name, but it just disappears from your memory? Or maybe you are learning English words, and no matter how many times you repeat them, they don't stay in your mind. If this happens to you, don't worry. You are not alone. Memory problems are something that every human experiences. But here is the good news. Memory is not fixed. Memory can be trained, improved, and made stronger, just like a muscle. Imagine your brain as a big library. Every day, you put new books on the shelves. But if the books are placed randomly, without order, without labels, and without care, it will be almost impossible to find the right book when you need it. That is how memory works. If you just throw information inside your brain without a system, without technique, you will quickly forget it. But if you learn how to organize, connect, and review information, you will be able to remember almost everything you want. The truth is, remembering is not about having a superpower. It is about using the right techniques. Some of the world's memory champions are not born with special brains. They simply use strategies that help them remember faster and longer. These strategies are simple, practical, and anyone can learn them. Yes, even you. Now imagine how your life can change if you could remember things better. You could learn languages faster, perform better in school, succeed in your job, and never feel embarrassed about forgetting someone's name. Memory is a key to confidence. When you remember well, you feel more powerful, more capable, and more intelligent. In this video, I am going to share with you 6 powerful steps to improve your memory. These steps are not complicated. They are easy to understand, and you can start practicing them today. If you are a student, if you are an English learner, or if you are simply someone who loves self-improvement, this video is for you. So sit back, relax, and stay with me until the end. Because I promise you, if you apply these 6 steps, your memory will never be the same again. Step 1. Focus and attention. The first and most important step in remembering everything is focus. Let me tell you a secret. Forgetting usually doesn't happen because your brain is weak. Forgetting happens because your brain never received the information with full attention in the first place. Imagine this situation. You are reading an English book, but at the same time you are checking your phone, replying to messages, and thinking about what you will eat for dinner. Do you think your brain will store the information? Of course not. The brain is not a computer that saves everything automatically. The brain is like a guard at the door. If you are distracted, the guard will not allow the information to enter the long-term memory room. So the first rule is simple. When you want to remember something, give it your full attention. Remove distractions. Put your phone away. Close unnecessary tabs. Sit in a quiet place. Even if you give only 5 minutes of complete focus, it is more powerful than 1 hour of half focus. Another key is mindfulness. When you meet someone and they say their name, don't just nod your head and move on. Repeat the name in your mind. Look at their face carefully. Connect the name with a detail about them. For example, if someone is named Anna, you can think Anna with the blue jacket. This small act of mindfulness helps the information stick. Here is a simple exercise. Whenever you study English vocabulary, say the word out loud, write it down, and look at it carefully for a few seconds. Feel the sound of the word. Imagine where you can use it in a real conversation. This is focus, and this focus gives your memory the signal. This is important. Please keep it. Some people say, but I don't have time to focus. The truth is, you don't need hours. You only need quality. 10 minutes of focused learning is better than 1 hour of distracted learning. When your mind is fully present, the brain works like a sponge. It absorbs the information and makes strong connections. Also, Try to study when your energy is high. If you are tired or sleepy, your focus will be weak. For many people, morning is the best time. For others, evening works. Find your golden hour, the time of the day when your brain feels most awake, and use that time to learn the most important information. So remember, focus is the foundation. Without focus, no memory technique will work. With focus, every technique becomes more powerful. The first step to remembering everything is to be present in the moment. Step 2. Visualization. If focus is the foundation of memory, then visualization is the magic that makes everything stronger. Our brains are naturally designed to remember pictures more easily than words. Think about it. When you remember your childhood, do you remember it as sentences? No, you remember it as images. The human brain is a camera, not a notebook. That is why visualization is such a powerful tool for memory. Let's try a simple test right now. Imagine a pink elephant standing in the middle of your kitchen, wearing sunglasses and drinking orange juice. Can you see it in your mind? Of course you can. And guess what? You will probably remember this pink elephant tomorrow too, because the image is unusual and funny. This is the secret. The more strange, colorful, and active your visualization, the easier it is to remember. Now let's apply this to real learning. Suppose you are learning the English word apple. Instead of just repeating apple, 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 close your eyes and imagine a huge red apple falling from the sky and landing on your desk. Imagine the sound, the smell, the color. The more senses you add, the stronger the memory becomes. Visualization also works perfectly for remembering names. Let's say you meet a person named Rose. You can imagine a beautiful red rose flower growing on their head like a hat. Every time you look at them, this funny picture will appear in your mind, and you will never forget their name again. The technique is simple. Turn information into pictures. But remember, the pictures must be big, colorful, and unusual. A boring picture will not stay in your brain. For example, if you need to remember the number 12, don't just see the digits 1 and 2. Instead, imagine a giant candle shaped like the number 1 next to a swan, which looks like the number 2. Together they form 12. Strange? Yes. Effective? Absolutely. This is why memory champions always use visualization. When they memorize long lists of words or numbers, they do not repeat them mechanically. They create little movies in their minds. Each word becomes a character, an object, or an action in their imagination. For students and English learners, visualization can be life-changing. Let's say you are learning the word library. Imagine a library the size of a mountain, with books flying like birds. Or the word happy. Imagine a huge smiling sun dancing in the sky. These images stay in your brain much longer than just reading the word. Here is a fun exercise for you. Take 10 English words that you want to remember. For each word, close your eyes and create a funny, colorful picture in your mind. Spend just 5 seconds with each picture. Then after 1 hour, test yourself. You will be surprised how easily you remember them. So the rule of step 2 is simple. If you want to remember, see it in your mind. Make the image big, unusual, colorful, and alive. The more creative you are, the stronger your memory will be. Step 3. Association and linking. Our brain is not a hard drive that stores information in isolation. Instead, it works like a giant web. Every new piece of information is connected to something we already know. This is why association and linking are so powerful. They help the brain create bridges between new knowledge and old knowledge. Think about it like this. If you put one balloon in the air, it will float away. But if you tie that balloon to a tree, it will stay. New information is like the balloon. Old information is like the tree. If you connect them, the memory will stay. Let's take a simple example. Suppose you meet a man named John Baker. How can you remember his name? Instead of just repeating John Baker, make associations. Maybe you think about John from your favorite movie, and then imagine him baking bread in a bakery. Suddenly, the name is no longer random. It is connected to pictures, experiences, and emotions. This technique is also very useful for language learners. For example, let's say you are learning the English word bridge. Instead of just memorizing the sound, connect it to something familiar. Maybe you remember the famous London Bridge. Or maybe you link it to the idea of connection between two friends. That link makes the word meaningful, and meaningful words are easier to remember. There is a famous memory technique called the linking method. Here is how it works. You take a list of items and create a story that connects them together. For example, let's say you want to remember these words: dog, book, banana, car, and moon. Instead of repeating them, you make a story. A dog is reading a book. The book turns into a banana. A car runs over the banana, and then the car flies to the moon. Crazy? Yes. Memorable? Absolutely. When you test yourself later, you will remember the story, and from the story, you will remember all the words. Another powerful example is remembering numbers. Numbers are difficult because they don't have meaning by themselves. But if you connect them to something familiar, they become easier. For example, if your password is 1947, instead of repeating 1947, connect it with history. 1947 was the year of Indian independence. Suddenly, the number has context, and your brain will not forget it. Here's a simple rule. The more personal the association, the stronger the memory. If you connect something to your own life, your brain will lock it in. For example, if you meet someone named Sam, and your best childhood friend was also Sam, you will never forget that name. Association and linking also make studying fun. Instead of forcing your brain, you are playing with ideas. You are telling little stories, making connections, and adding creativity. This active process is what transforms weak memories into strong ones. Here's a quick exercise you can try. Write down 5 English words you learned today. Now, instead of repeating them, create one funny story that includes all 5 words. Read the story once, and then forget about it. A few hours later, test yourself. You will see that the story brings all the words back to your mind. So remember, step 3 is about building bridges. Don't let information float away. Tie it to something you already know, and it will stay with you forever. Step 4, chunking information. Have you ever tried to remember a long phone number and felt like it was impossible? For example, 742-981-5362. If you look at this number as one long chain, your brain gets tired. But if you break it into smaller groups, like 742-981-5362, suddenly it feels easier. This is called chunking, dividing information into smaller, meaningful pieces. Our short-term memory is limited. Scientists say that on average, we can only hold about 7 items in our short-term memory at once. That is why remembering long lists is difficult. But if we group information into chunks, our brain can handle it better. Think about how we remember years. The year 2025 is not stored in our brain as 2-0-2-5. We see it as one chunk, 2025. That's why it feels natural and easy. Chunking works in many areas of life. For example, when you study vocabulary, instead of trying to remember 20 random words at once, divide them into groups of 4 or 5. You can group them by theme, food words, travel words, emotion words, or by sound, or by similarity. This way, each group becomes one chunk, and remembering 5 chunks is easier than remembering 20 single items. Here's another example. Imagine you want to learn a speech. If you try to memorize the entire speech word for word, it feels overwhelming. But if you divide it into sections, introduction, main idea 1, main idea 2, conclusion, you only need to remember the structure. Each section is a chunk, and inside each chunk you know the main points. This method helps actors, speakers, and even students when they prepare for exams. Let's test it with a list. Apple, banana, orange, car, bus, train, happiness, sadness, excitement. If you try to memorize them one by one, it's hard. But if you chunk them into 3 groups, fruits, apple, banana, orange, transport, car, bus, train, emotions, happiness, sadness, excitement. Suddenly it's easy. Now you only need to remember 3 categories, not 9 individual words. Chunking is also useful in language learning. When you learn English sentences, instead of trying to remember every single word, break the sentence into chunks. For example, the sentence, I would like to order a cup of coffee. You can chunk it as, I would like, plus, to order, plus, a cup of coffee. 3 chunks only. And the brain finds this much easier than remembering 7 separate words. Another place where chunking is powerful is studying for exams. Let's say you have to study 50 pages of history. If you think, I must remember 50 pages, it feels impossible. But if you divide it into 5 sections of 10 pages each, and then further divide those 10 pages into 2 or 3 key ideas, you suddenly have control. You don't feel lost, you feel organized. One more tip, use numbers to create chunks. For example, when learning vocabulary, decide, I will study 5 words in the morning, 5 in the afternoon, and 5 in the evening. That's 15 words a day. In 1 month, you will know 450 words. But if you try to memorize all 450 at once, you would probably fail. Small chunks lead to big results. So remember, your brain loves structure. When you chunk information, you give your brain a map. Instead of wandering in a forest of random details, you see clear paths and groups. Step 4 is simple but powerful. Don't memorize everything at once. Divide and conquer. Step 5, spaced repetition. Here is the truth. If you study something once and never look at it again, your brain will almost always forget it. Scientists call this the forgetting curve. After 1 day, you may remember only 50% of what you learned. After 1 week, maybe only 10%. But there is a way to fight this curve, and it is called spaced repetition. Spaced repetition means reviewing information at specific intervals. Instead of repeating the same thing many times in 1 day, you repeat it across several days, weeks, or even months. This method tells your brain, this information is important. Please store it in long-term memory. Let's say you learn 10 new English words today. If you repeat them 20 times in 1 hour, you will remember them for the day, but probably forget them after a week. But if you review them in a spaced pattern, like after 1 day, 3 days, 7 days, and 30 days, your brain will remember them for months or even years. Why does this work? Because every time you recall information after a small break, your brain strengthens the memory. It is like exercising a muscle. The more you lift weights, the stronger the muscle becomes. The more you recall information at spaced intervals, the stronger the memory becomes. There are many tools that use spaced repetition. One famous tool is flashcards. You can write a word on one side and the meaning on the other. Then review the cards daily. If you remember the card easily, you put it in the later review pile. If you forget it, you keep it in the soon review pile. This system naturally creates spaced repetition. Another great tool is apps like Anki or Quizlet. These apps automatically show you information at the right time. For example, if you remember a word well, the app will show it again after a longer interval. If you struggle with a word, the app will show it again sooner. This smart system makes learning efficient, but you don't always need technology. You can do spaced repetition with a notebook. For example, write down 10 words today, review them tomorrow, then review them again after 3 days, then again after 1 week, then again after 1 month. The system is simple, but the results are powerful. Spaced repetition is also useful for speeches, exams, and presentations. If you want to memorize a speech, don't try to learn it all in one night. Practice a little every day. Review the main points after 1 day, after 3 days, after 1 week. This way, the information becomes natural in your mind. Here's a fun example. Imagine you are learning the word umbrella. You see it today, you review it tomorrow. After 3 days, you try to recall it. At first you might struggle, but when you remember it, the memory becomes stronger. After 1 week, you review it again. Each review is like adding another layer of glue to the memory. Soon the word becomes permanent. You will never forget umbrella again. The most important rule of spaced repetition is consistency. Small, regular reviews are better than one long study session. 10 minutes every day is better than 3 hours on one day. This is why many successful students and language learners practice a little bit every day. So remember, step 5 is about fighting the forgetting curve. If you want to remember everything, don't just learn once, review smartly. Space your repetition, and your memory will grow stronger with time. Step 6. Healthy mind, healthy memory. Until now, we have talked about techniques, focus, visualization, association, chunking, and spaced repetition. But there is one more thing we cannot ignore: the health of the brain itself. If your brain is tired, stressed, or unhealthy, no technique will work. That's why step 6 is about taking care of your mind and body, because a healthy mind creates a powerful memory. First, let's talk about sleep. Many people think they can cut sleep and still study well. But science shows the opposite. During sleep, especially deep sleep, the brain organizes memories. It moves information from short-term memory into long-term memory. If you don't sleep enough, your brain doesn't have time to do this. That's why after an all-night study, you often forget everything the next day. So rule number 1, get enough quality sleep. 7 to 8 hours for most adults is perfect. Next is nutrition. Your brain is like a car engine. It needs the right fuel. Foods rich in omega-3, like fish, walnuts, chia seeds, antioxidants, like blueberries, spinach, and green tea, and vitamins, like B12 and D, are very good for memory. On the other hand, too much junk food, sugar, or processed snacks can make your brain slow. Water is also very important. Dehydration can reduce your focus and memory by a lot. Another key factor is exercise. Physical activity doesn't just make your body stronger, it makes your brain stronger too. When you move your body, blood flow increases, carrying oxygen and nutrients to the brain. Exercise also produces chemicals that help grow new brain cells. Even a 20-minute walk every day can improve your memory and focus. Now let's talk about stress. When you are stressed, your brain releases cortisol, a hormone that can damage memory if it stays too high for too long. That's why people often forget things when they are nervous before an exam or an interview. To fight stress, practice relaxation, deep breathing, meditation, or even simple hobbies like drawing or listening to music. A calm brain remembers better. Don't forget about mental exercise too. Just like your muscles, your brain needs training. Reading books, solving puzzles, learning a new language, or even playing memory games can keep your brain sharp. The more you challenge your brain, the more connections it builds, and the better your memory becomes. Finally, remember the power of positive emotions. When you are happy, interested, or excited, your brain releases chemicals like dopamine that make learning easier. That's why you remember your favorite movie scenes or funny moments with friends much more clearly than boring lectures. So try to make your learning fun. Add games, stories, or jokes. The happier you feel, the stronger your memory will be. So step 6 is simple but essential. Take care of your body and your mind. Sleep well, eat healthy, exercise regularly, manage stress, and keep your brain active. If your brain is healthy, all the other memory techniques will work twice as well. When you combine these 6 steps, your memory will transform. You will no longer feel frustrated when you forget something. Instead, you will feel in control. You will have confidence in your ability to learn, to grow, and to remember. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. You know more English words. You never forget people's names. You feel sharp, confident, and powerful, all because you decided to use these techniques and improve your memory. But remember, knowing is not enough. You must practice. Try these steps today. Even small actions make a big difference. For example, when you meet someone new, focus on their name, visualize something funny, and link it to something you know. Or when you study vocabulary, chunk it into small groups and review them with spaced repetition. Slowly, these techniques will become natural habits. And now, I want to talk directly to you. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something valuable, please support this channel. Hit the like button. It really helps me create more useful content. Write a comment below and tell me, which of the 6 steps will you try first? I love reading your comments. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new video. So thank you so much for watching until the end. Remember, your memory is a gift. Train it, care for it, and use it to build the life you dream of. Stay motivated, stay positive, and I will see you in the next video.